Welcome to the Fran Snyder Podcast, where I talk to artists and music fans to explore how music connects us through great stories and experiences. Brought to you by the Listening Room Network. Today's guest, Robert Bidney. Welcome to the Fran Snyder Podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Fran?
Good. It's been a little while since we've chatted. I think we've probably bumped into each other at a couple of music conferences or something.
Yes, and I've seen you perform at a house concert actually down here at Alice's.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was like a week or two, I think, before I played there.
Okay, yeah, that's a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Alice is great. You know, also one of the founding members of the Americana Community Music Association, which we can chat about in a little bit. So let's introduce you to our audience. Tell me a little bit about where I think you're from New York City. Give me an idea.
I was born in New York City, grew up a while in the Midwest in Columbus, and then spent the last 35-ish years in South Florida.
Okay, and how did you wind up in
and I'm only 20 years old.
Wow, you look awesome. You're like a Benjamin Buttons over there.
And you don't look too bad yourself. How old are you?
I am, I think,
if I may ask.
Yeah, I'm 52. 52.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Do you think music does this to us?
I don't know.
It just keeps us young.
Yeah, so tell me, how'd you get to Fort Myers? How'd you get to South Florida? Was it on accident? Did you vacation and never leave, or
how did I get to South Florida? No, it wasn't. I vacationed and never left. No, I still haven't had a vacation. I don't know how do you spell that word, vacation? Anyway.
It's certainly not
in my dictionary. I'll tell you.
All right.
It's always something to do. I moved down here with my family from Columbus, Ohio, probably in 10th grade, and then moved back to New York, my hometown, where I was born, to become a superstar.
Excellent. So let's talk about the path to becoming a superstar. When did you start? What age did you start playing, and how did things develop in terms of when you started, recording or playing live, that kind of stuff?
Well, I actually had my first cut when I moved back up to New York. My first published song, I wrote a song called The Secret of Life, and there was this group on Arista Records. They were a legendary gospel group, and they were looking for the type of material I was writing at the time. So that's how my professional music life started, with songwriting and performing. And I played it in the Village a few times, and knocked on a lot of doors while I lived up in New York. The CBS's and the Aristas and the.
So you were doing this on your own? You didn't have an agent? You didn't have a publishing deal?
I didn't. I was doing it all on my own, just going out and meeting people and making appointments and so on. It was a very interesting and frustrating experience.
And so at that time, so are we talking about in the 80s here, or what?
Yes, this was actually, you're really good with numbers.
I'm just a shot in the dark. So I'm curious, like in that time, were you doing sort of like well-produced demos, or were they just basic demos and you were just getting?
I didn't start doing well-produced demos until I moved back down to South Florida. And then I would go up to Nashville. There was a time when I was going up to Nashville about once a month to do demos and to pitch my songs and so on. And
this was you were still independent as you were doing this? You didn't have an agent pulling strings?
I ended up signing with some publishers up there in Nashville, and I still have some contracts, single song contracts, with some publishers up there. And I've had, a bunch of cuts, but nothing top 40. But when I was in South Florida, after I moved back from New York, I still networked a lot and met people, and became a member of the NSAI the Nashville Songwriters Association International had a chapter in South Florida, and I met some really great songwriters. One of the songwriters I met, I did a lot of co-writing with at the time, and he ended up moving to Nashville and had a #1 song, and he did great. I just kept visiting Nashville a lot, but never moved up there.
And in terms of live playing, have you done the road dog thing? Have you toured a bunch, or have you mostly focused on the songwriting aspect and played locally?
I started to go out a lot after I decided to cut my first album. I finally found somebody who understood my music in LA, and I cut my first album with him and my second album with him, and that started me going around. I played a few places in LA while I was out there. Then I went around probably the last several years in Florida and Georgia, and went to New Orleans a few times to play, the Carolinas.
And are you doing solo tours, or are you
Yes.
bringing somebody with you? Okay.
I pretty much do my own.
Nice. And then how did you connect with the Americana Community Music Association?
ACMA I connected with when I moved to Fort Myers, which was about 4.5-5 years ago at this point. And I was just looking, like wherever all the other places I lived, just to hook up with people and who are of like mind and talent. And they have just embraced me. And the people there have, established a wonderful songwriting community here. And I played there numerous times. And in addition to other places.
Have you taken part in any of the songwriter circles and stuff that they've done there?
I did that at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great service they offer people, especially people who are first starting out and trying to figure out how to write a song.
And I understand you've been part of the Island Hopper Festival, something that's been increasing in notoriety in recent years. That's Fort Myers based.
Yeah, the Island Hopper Songwriter Festival is based in Fort Myers, and basically they have 3 geographical areas in the Fort Myers district. That's why they call it the Island Hopper. So they have like 3 days, and they have venues, and a few venues, and then they go to another part and they have a few venues, and then to a third part and they have a few venues. The last time they were working before the pandemic, what was that, 2019, I think?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Wow. I was invited to perform, and it was one of the best ACMA experiences I've had. And I've had quite a few because they're just such a great organization. But
did they have a stage there? Like
they had a club in downtown Fort Myers. And the night I was there, I was with a few other ACMA singer-songwriters, Roy Schneider and Ray Sorbonne and Kim Mayfield and Bill Metz. And we took our turns on stage. It was sold out. It was magical because there must have been 250, 300 people in this place.
And was this like an in the round show or one after the other?
We were all on stage together, one after, and we sang one after another. And we just kept going, yes, in the round. And it was just magical. You could hear a pin drop in that room. It was just wonderful. Very special moment.
So silver linings, I love hearing from artists about, how 2020 affected them in a positive way. Obviously, there's a lot of artists lost gigs and had to rearrange lots of plans. I'm curious for you, some silver linings from this past year. What?
I think one of the biggest silver linings is what you and I are doing right now. I think the pandemic has elevated the Zoom format. And since we're forced to stay home, we just have to do these things. And it is pretty incredible when you think about it. If this pandemic happened 10 years ago, what would have we been like? But we've been able, this technology has allowed us to adapt a lot better, I think, which I think is a huge silver lining. Personally, a silver lining, I've written some of the best songs I've ever written. The most recent song during the pandemic I wrote has been an amazing silver lining, and it has opened some interesting doors. It's now getting airplay on radio stations around the country. In fact, earlier today, I was on with a station outside of Boston. The song was played on a station that's spans the US, UK, and Canada. It's based out of Canada. I'm getting airplay on FM stations in the United Kingdom, Scotland.
Now, is this something you released as a single, or?
I just released it as a single. It's not part of an album. The song is called Thank Goodness for the Giving People. And it's all about the people who have just given of themselves to help others during this pandemic.
And where did you record that? Because I know you've done a lot.
In the studio I work with in LA.
In LA, okay. So you managed to get out to LA.
No, I actually was able to do it remotely.
Oh, okay.
And it just came out terrific. I did the vocals locally in the studio, and all the instruments were done out there.
Okay. So you're basically sending tracks back and forth.
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot, and it really works out well.
Yeah, there's sidemen and guitar players that are cutting tracks in their van and and sending them on to a studio. It's amazing what's possible now with technology. So yeah, that's been, I think that's contributed big time to just the survivability of the music business this past year. If you are enjoying this podcast, can you pause for a moment to like, review, and subscribe? Please help the world discover our music community and the wonderful artists we support. Your feedback makes a difference. Are you making plans for any sort of live gigs yet for like the summer of 2021? Or are you kind of playing the wait and see game right now?
Yes, the latter.
Yeah. Okay.
I would love to get out there again. I mean, I love performing. I love the audience response I get, and intimately what that's like. You got great response when I saw you perform. So.
Thanks. Yeah, Alice has become quite the music force in South Florida. It was so gratifying to see Fort Myers develop a music scene over the past 10, 15 years, because being here in the Tampa, St. Petersburg area, it was like there's nothing between here and Miami. And then Miami was sort of its own peculiar type of musical wasteland. There was a lot going on, but there was just really, really isolated scenes, whether it was Latin music or hard rock or, the singer-songwriter thing. There was not like a lot of connective tissue. It was very insular, I guess is the word for it. It was really tough to connect on the east coast of Florida and further south. At least that was my experience for a really long time.
Did you live there?
I actually lived in Pompano Beach near Fort Lauderdale for a little while. Yeah, I've lived a lot of places, and that was my least favorite place as a musician. It was such a transient area, and I just one of the few places in the world where I just felt like I don't belong here.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think of where you're living? You're in the St. Pete area, right?
Yeah, St. Pete, Florida is beautiful. I grew up in Tampa, just on the other side of the bay.
Oh, okay.
And Tampa was pretty cool. It never felt like home, but it was home for a very long time. and moved away. I was married for a long time, and we moved for her job. So I got to live in a bunch of different cities and states. And then when we split up, I wound up sort of accidentally coming back to Florida. And that's when I sort of rediscovered St. Pete, which, used to be, they used to call it God's waiting room, or the
Right.
home of the newlywed and newly dead. It was like, it really had sort of this senior vibe, and with a really sort of desolate downtown back when I was first playing in the early 90s. And now it's like, it's a city that's super embracive of the arts. Lots and lots of art here, and vibrant downtown, really culturally motivated city. And when I rediscovered St. Pete, I knew I had to live here. So I've lived downtown for about 7 or 8 years now, and it's just a great place to be. So I love it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I am trying to remember the name of the guy who heard this song that I just told you about and reached out to me. It's called The Listening Room in Sarasota.
Oh yeah.
What is his name?
Paul Schatz. Paul and Fran.
Yes, Paul Schatz reached out to me. So I hope that we can keep connected, and I think I would love to play there. It sounds like a great thing.
Yeah, they have a place called the Compound that they rent out. They used to do house concerts in the sort of like the clubhouse of their condo neighborhood, and they sort of outgrew that, and then they got it's kind of like a warehouse with a lessons facility in there, but they have like this big performance space. For the past 6 months, they've been looking for a suitable outdoor venue, and they still haven't quite found something that's the right fit. So they're one of those many series in our network that are just kind of on hold, trying to find the right way to get started again. But it's really gratifying to see, some people have built gazebos in their backyard, and they would not be denied. And they're just like, we're going to keep doing music. I don't care how far people have to sit or stand away from each other. We're going to keep doing music. That's really fun to see. Well, Robert, I really appreciate reconnecting with you. I really hope that I can get back to Fort Myers sometime soon. And you're always welcome to visit in St. Pete. So hopefully we'll reconnect again. We'll link to your website in the show notes, so YouTube and on the podcast. So
thank you.
People will be able to track you down and get a listen to some of your great music.
Thank you, and thank you for all the great work you're doing in supporting us and our cause and our songs and our performances. And you're a blessing to us, and really appreciate it.
Thanks, Robert. Let's keep it going.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Fran Snyder Podcast. Please subscribe, like, or share to help your friends discover this community. Also, I'd love to hear from you with any feedback or suggestions you have. And if you'd like to learn more about house concerts and listening rooms around the world, please visit and join listeningroomnetwork.com. You can email me from there. See you next time on the Fran Snyder Podcast.